Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another uLaw webinar. Today's webinar topic on uLaw is going to be about how do you as a legal firm ensure a very high experience across the 4 experience factors around BX, CX, the UX, and PX. We're going to talk about what these different experiences are, what these alphabets mean, and why it's important for your law office or your legal office. Now, today's webinar has been accredited for 1 hour of CPD credits, of professionalism CPD credits. And we kindly request you to use the chat window to ask any questions that you may have. Either, after the session, we'll spend some time to answer any of these questions specific to today's webinar. From a housekeeping standpoint, we kindly request you to mute your phone lines and use the chat window to ask those questions. And just before the webinar ends too, we would kindly request if you could use the link provided on our chat window to acknowledge your presence today and just provide your attendance, if you will. You are able to search for this particular subject line. How do you ensure BX, CX, UX, and PX is high for your law office? That's the name of today's webinar. And you can either search it out on your Law Society portal, or you can just type it in and take those 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. And it's been accredited in the provinces of Ontario, New Brunswick, and British Columbia. So we do welcome all our friends and legal professionals across these 3 provinces and others who are joining in. But the CPD has been approved across these 3 provinces. Okay. Like every other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has a very clear-cut agenda. We're going to talk about, as I mentioned, what does the BX, UX, CX, and PX mean? For those who have not been to this webinar or previous versions of these webinars, it's always a very interesting topic to cover. We're going to try and cover that all within the next 50 to 55 minutes. We're going to talk about what these experiences mean and why it's important to your legal office to have a very high ratio of these experiences for your end clients, and what it means to your business. How you can be very cognitive about using these experiences to improve yourself as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. And we'll talk about each of these different components, specifically focusing on the business of branding. Obviously, it's an ocean of a topic to talk about, but we'll try and keep it as specific as we need for today's webinar and align it more towards the needs of a legal firm. The importance of branding and how that, really helps you to position yourself as a thought leader, as an expert in the area of practice that you plan to focus on, okay? We'll also talk about how business automation, if these experiences are important, is there a way to automate these experiences to a certain degree so that you can improve your productivity of your legal firm, take that time and efficiencies and invest the time back to your firm to make those experiences better, okay? And we'll tie that back to, obviously, the UX and CX. And at the end of it all, as a legal firm or a law firm, we'll talk about the tools and the opportunities that you have in today's context as a 21st century legal professional, of the tools that you have and the software capabilities that can help automate many of these different experiences. Okay? Okay, so now let's reveal these different alphabetical experiences and what they mean. So what we mean by BX is not the business experience, but it's truly the brand experience. So we want to talk about what this really means for a legal firm, okay? So to define that, let's first define what the brand experience is all about. The brand experience, as we believe, is really the first impression that you provide to the audience that's actually consuming or experiencing the service quality of the services that you offer as an organization, okay? So it really gives that first impression to either a marketing program that you've conducted, whether it's a huge banner that you have in front of your firm, whether it's email marketing, whether it's print marketing, whatever it may be, the brand, whether it's a logo, a tagline, a bunch of colors, whatever you use to define your brand truly dictates the first experience that your customer has, the first time they taste your company and the services that you offer or you promise to offer. Okay. That being said, it's a great opportunity to make a very good first impression. Okay. So as a business owner, you can now take the time, knowing that the brand experience is that important, to really think about who you are as an individual, the values that you provide as a legal professional, whether it's a large law firm or if it's a solo-based legal practice, regardless of the size of the firm. I'm sure you, when you started off to be a legal professional, a daredevil, decided to take on certain components that were natural to you. Beyond it being a career, there were certain values that you wanted to bring to the table to your clients, something that was missing in this marketplace that you believe you can add to. The different competencies that you bring as a legal professional. Okay? There's various different areas of practice around the legal field, right from small claims, WSIB, there's landlord and tenant, there's family law, there's immigration, employment law. There's quite a few sectors or areas of practice. So based on your education, based on the experience that you have of having worked with other firms maybe, the kind of Rolodex that you've built, all those different things obviously determine the type of areas of practice that you as a legal firm may want to practice and serve your clients. So it's very important that you first assess who you are, the values that you want to bring to the table, and the competencies that you have across the board. So maybe you as an individual bring a certain competency and you've now hired another lawyer or a paralegal to bring something else. So as a firm, if there are multitude levels of competencies that you bring, that brand or that tagline or whatever that represents the company should take that advantage and provide that great first impression. Okay? So you really want to imprint a confidence in the service excellence that you and your team will deliver. Whether it's videos, whether it's a marketing gig on a radio, brand really allows you to establish who you are as a company, gives you that, I would think, a 2-minute elevator pitch to talk to your audience about your firm. The brand dictates the different colors so that if it's very cognitive, if they look at a certain color branding, they know that this is your company and this is who you are. So the mind really works with colors. So if you start looking at your logos, starting to print your business cards, think about various components of how you can make that first impression and imprint that brand experience to the end audience. The brand can also include, as I said, logos and colors, but can also include taglines. We always bring this great example of Nike that has this tick symbol and then has the tagline of "Just Do It." So a majority of the audience, when they read "Just Do It," they pretty much know that it's a Nike brand that they're dealing with. But it also talks about the values of what that particular tagline means. And obviously now that the book is out, you also understand the story of the entrepreneur who first built that brand and now which is a conglomerate, right? So whether you're an entrepreneur who's just starting off or an existing company or business, legal practice that's looking to reinvent themselves, branding is an evolution. So you can always evolve with time with the competencies that you've built and you've learned. And Nike and all these big brands, Reebok, even Starbucks, who we would use as an example today, have evolved over time and reinvented themselves and obviously have spent the money to rebrand colors, taglines, etc., logos even sometimes. Okay, so brand experience is really that first experience that you have, the opportunity that you have to provide your end audience with the first impression that you make. Let's assume you've made that first impression. It's really motivated your client to walk into your legal firm office. Then starts the next set of opportunities that you have to provide that experience. One of the first experiences that you can provide now that customer is the customer experience. Okay, it starts right from the time of engagement and continues through until the delivery of the final closing letter. So it's that discipline of a consistent high level of customer experience that your legal firm should strive for. And to be consistent is where we talk about how you can use automation so that you're not missing out on that consistency due to human error. Okay, so and customer experience is really perceived by the end client through every touch point. So the first time they walk into your door, they look at the same brand, the same logos. So you don't want to be, let's say you have a brand experience of a red, black, and white logo where you market it all over Facebook, Google, etc. And then when they walk into your firm, it's a really, green, blue, pink brand experience. And they're like, so you want to make sure there is consistency across all channels. The omnipresence, as they call it, the omni-channel experience is consistent and at a high level. So right from the time they step into your office, from the first phone conversation that they have with you, to every document, every marketing document, every legal document, starting with your retainer letter, to your invoices, to your closing letter, that you provide a very consistent and a high level of customer experience. So that life cycle from a prospective customer to being a customer who's going to refer you to other friends is really what you would focus across this particular experience opportunity, which is the customer experience. Okay? And then we talk about user experience. So we spoke about, now that the customer is in, let's say they've agreed to sign or retain you as a legal professional to handle their legal matter. That's fantastic. The brand's worked. The marketing aspect of the brand and the recognition has worked a little bit. You having provided a very consistent customer experience, a high level of customer experience has really motivated a little bit of a extra confidence in your customer to now work with you. Okay, the professionalism that you and everybody in your firm provides has really motivated them to retain you. They appreciate and like the experience that you bring. Now it's about the user experience. And there's a subtle difference between, let's say, the customer experience and what really a user experience is. So user experience, as we want to define it, is a multi-touchpoint experience that the client receives during the process of you serving them as a customer. Okay? So be it the professionalism, be it the timeliness, be it the opportunity to have multiple ways of engaging with you as a firm, the ease of use, the ease of communication, the availability of your staff on a timely basis, the way you represent your firm as well as represent your end client, the invoices and the clarity that you provide in those documents, all of these now they form, I would say, the core components of this user experience opportunity that you have. In layman's term, we believe the user experience truly is probably the most important differentiator that you as a legal firm can provide that customer. How are you different than the other legal firm that provides the same small claims expertise? Okay? A good example is, do you provide an opportunity for your clients to actually do a self-serve as a payment and make it truly convenient for them to be paperless? They're not expecting an invoice via mail and then sending you a check or calling you to provide a credit card. They just want to be able to click on a link that you've sent through an email, or maybe there's a portal that you send them to that allows them to quickly deliver or process this particular invoice through a credit card or through a direct debit. Whatever is the ease that you can afford to provide, you want to put that best step forward. So the user experience is truly the X factor, the differentiator, and how you take that customer through a very happy as well as a very professional experience through the life cycle of that file. Okay? We're obviously going to talk a little bit more deeper and have a deeper dive into each of these different experiences. And last but not the least, it's the product experience. And we call it product because we want to say, so that you can actually draw parallel with how this is being managed in other lines of businesses. Okay? You provide legal expertise as a legal professional, but you're a business owner and this is a business that needs to be run. Okay? So we're trying to draw parallels with other businesses, and these 4 experiences in many ways apply to any business that exists today. Okay? So what is the product experience? Is after having gone through the brand, customer, and the user experience, it's truly, I would say, an accumulated result of those 3 experiences that comes out of this product experience. Motivating enough for the customer to remember you, to come back to your firm for other legal matters, as well as refer you to friends and family who are in a very similar situation. Okay? So was it truly worth it for the customer for having gone through the BX, CX, and the user experience? Was it worth their time? Was it worth their money? And was it enough to motivate them to remember your brand, to remember that user experience, and remember that customer experience so that they're now motivated to come back to you? You've now become their thought leader. So the next time, you think about a legal matter, they want to think about your legal firm. And a very subtle difference in the product experience, the opportunity that you have as a legal professional is understanding what products that you have to offer. And when I talk about a legal firm, the products that you have to offer to sell are the different levels of expertise, which boils down to the different levels of areas of expertise. So today, maybe as a professional, you do small claims. Through education, you may study to be an immigration consultant. And in a year or 2 years, now you have the opportunity to provide a new product or a service, that of being an immigration consultant. Okay, it's the same firm. Maybe you have to rebrand yourself a little bit. If your tagline 2 years back was, "We are the small claims expert," right? You may have to now rebrand that saying, "We are a professional firm that deals with small claims and immigration law." Something like that to resonate with the service offerings and your values. But regardless, the name of the firm or the fact that you can now reach out to these customers because you've done a good job, asking them for a reference, making it part of a referral program, introducing them to an immigration law service that you now offer. Those are the aspects of the product experience. So this is where you as a legal firm can start to think, I start with something, but if I can learn and grow other areas of expertise, how can I better market it to the same customer base? But a prerequisite to that obviously would be that you've provided that every customer a fantastic, rememberable brand, customer, and user experience. Okay? Okay, so again, this presentation is going to be available on our YouTube channel, I would say as early as Monday afternoon next week. You obviously will have the opportunity, and we request you to take the time to, play this while you're driving or revisit this if you really think it was a compelling presentation. But I just don't want to read through this, but I will leave the slide on for a couple of minutes so that if you have to read through it later on when you look at the video, you can do so. But now we're going to talk about individual experiences a little bit more as a deeper dive. I hope I will be able to establish what we mean by these 4 different experiences, and hope you were able to draw some parallels to how you may be able to provide these experiences to your customers. And obviously, we'll talk about why each of these experiences are important in slightly further detail. Okay? So from a brand experience, what we've seen from research and articles that have been published that brand does cognitively provide, it motivates individuals, and it plays a huge role in motivating that audience to first come and check you out, okay, to even come visit you, to really understand if you can even, even flirting with the idea of whether you as a legal firm can help them with their situation. The brand really helps. It helps initially from a first impression standpoint. And if you have provided a fantastic experience across the customer life cycle, it also helps as a brand to remember you as a company and refer you as a company to others. Okay. From a branding standpoint, we find in today's context, being a very technocentric environment that we're living in, that you now should take the opportunity of branding your firm, the company, the logo, the experience, but then marketing that brand across different channels. So the typical channels are print media, where you're printing brochures, you're sending them to multiple offices, you're printing business cards, but then you can also look at digital ways in which you can market your brand. Okay? A simple logo with a simple tagline, or simple logo, simple tagline with a very simple referral note can be promoted as an example across Facebook, across LinkedIn sometimes too. Can be promoted within a community of legal professionals who works together, who are willing to refer them if that's not an area of practice that you focus on. But it's still important, even if you're giving it to a colleague who's referring you, that they have their brand really entrenched in their mind. So branding is one. The purpose building that brand to market it is another thing that you should have the opportunity to think through and execute on. Okay. Now, from a legal standpoint, all this is fine and dandy, but this is legal business. You can get your hands dirty in this. There are a lot of customer-facing documents. We talk about, client intake forms, retainer letters, engagement letters if there is no retainer involved, invoices, receipts. These are all great opportunities for you to continue with that brand. Make sure that each and every document has the same letterhead, the same brand recognition. Because as I said, a bit of indisciplined branding across documents may kind of leave you with, a bit of a unprofessional touch, if you will. And or the flip side is if you do have a very consistent professional, consistent message and a consistent brand that leaves with a very high user experience and product experience. Okay, so one is building that brand. Second is marketing that brand. And the third is being consistent with that brand across the life cycle of the client, across documents. So don't just take them lightly or easily once they become a customer. Provide and walk that extra mile to provide a very consistent, similar brand experience across all touch points, especially documents that you share with them. It continues to be, if you're going to print it and send it to them, so be it, or if it's digital, still continue to have that presence because it's easier for them to recognize the brand, 6 months, 1 year down the line. So the brand does represent a very consistent experience of logo and brand message. The message needs to contain any relevant information that your client can use when he or she thinks about you and wants to refer you or come back to you with another legal problem. We're going to take Starbucks as an example. I mean, that's the example we thought about, and that's the example we presented to the Law Society, and that's the example they've approved. There are obviously many such examples that we can provide, but we're going to stick to that Starbucks example, and hopefully it resonates well and kind of draws a parallel for you as well. Okay. Now that you know that you have to consistently brand these documents and the different multi-touch points that you have across your legal firm, then the plan is, how do I do it? What tools and avenues do I as a legal professional have to help automate these experiences? So even if I were to take the Starbucks example, right? When you look at some of the lattes that are made with the coffee, there's a certain level of consistency, give or take, these different franchisees and brands have. Like Starbucks, if you were to have a caramel latte, the caramel that's being used is the secret sauce. That's where they bring in the consistency. It's the same brand they're dealing with, the same level of sugar, and then they train the individuals to only squirt 2 or 3, right? So there's many factors to how they build that discipline, how they build that consistency, and how they continue that brand experience and the user experience across their stores. Very similar. So there's a bit of automation, right? If you're heating your milk, there's a device to do that. You press a button, there's a bit of an automation. You don't put it in a cook stove and heat the milk. So those are, naive examples, but hopefully draw parallels with how you would accomplish that level of automation in your legal firm. A good example of how you can do that is using practice management tools, document management tools. They are obviously very key to branding because documents are a very key vehicle for you to send that branding across. So cutting to the chase, if you are able to take that logo, create it, and import it or get it into that practice management tool and tell the tool to use it across certain documents or all documents, then your work is done because the software would allow that automation to happen automatically. Versus if this was going to be done manually, if you're picking and choosing a logo every time, one day you may pick up pink and white. Let's say you change your assistant, your legal assistant, and human error can lead to a different logo being chosen. So you want to think about tools, software, or even discipline that can help bring that automation in. So here's drawing a parallel, because that seems to be the 2 common words that I'm really using in today's webinar, drawing parallel. Business or brand experience. So if you look at that green mermaid, right? The mermaid in a green color in a cup, it's Starbucks with the crown, and there's obviously a story behind that, which is all really nice. But if you really look at a cup with a green color and there's a mermaid lady, looks like a mermaid fish crown, it's Starbucks. Whether you go to Australia, whether you go to Canada, United States, you see that, there's a Starbucks around the corner, right? It doesn't even have to say Starbucks. To be quite honest, in some of the countries, it's just that big round design that they have in front of the store. Obviously, they write Starbucks on top of it, but many times they market it with just that. Simple brand has a bit of, has another story to tell. So if your brand has a story to tell, nothing like it. And a tagline. Now here is the truth about taglines, that it does change over time. The brand, you want to keep it as consistent as possible. You don't want to change it like every 6 months or every 3 months, right? If you have to change it, as I said, for a very valid reason, by all means, go ahead and do that. But traditionally, brand, the whole logo, the design, it's well thought out, and it stays, especially in the legal firm, for a very long time. But taglines, as I said, depending on the areas of practice, how you evolve is how other businesses evolve with taglines, okay? And you can Google this up, but Starbucks apparently over the many years that they've been in business have changed their taglines over 25 or 30 times. Okay? So just to let you know that it's okay to change those taglines, but the brand, try and keep them the same and don't change them too often. Okay. Customer experience. Again, customer engagements are key touch points where your customer receives insight into your business. As I said, every touch point of the way, walking into your office, do that first client intake form, or even if they don't even walk into your office, they visit your website. A website is a fantastic branded first experience for any customer in today's digital age. And through every touch point, through that website intake, to that phone conversation they have, to maybe an in-person meeting, and providing that customer experience with the kind of confidence and clarity that you promise as a firm is going to really help set that first impression and provide that great experience that your customer deserves. Okay, and they're going to be really confident that they are going to get a very strong legal advice from your firm. But improving and delivering a consistent customer experience takes a lot of effort. Okay. And we're going to go back to the point of automation. But how can you automate? What's the level of automation you can accomplish in legal firms from a customer experience? So we spoke about multiple touch points. So let's take a retainer letter as an example, or an invoice as an example, statement of activities, bill of cost, any of these documents. Building templates for these different documents, for different areas of practice. Just like how you had this one-time opportunity to upload a logo, and it was now made available across all documents. Taking the time to build repeatable templates. So if it's a small claims matter, the opportunity that you can actually generate a very professional looking small claims matter with little change with every client, and providing at least a level of consistency that can be built upon is very crucial, and it can be accomplished through practice management tools, through software. And if software is a commodity that you're not looking to explore, it would have to be accomplished through a lot of manual interventions and reminders, and building that discipline within your firm, within your individuals that you run with. Okay, but if you can explore the different software that can truly provide that level of expertise. So using the business process automation built into practice management systems, capturing the information and producing documents at a click of a button can help provide not only the efficiencies and productivity, but can also provide a very consistent customer experience. Okay. And just to add to that product or practice management component, if you have to deal with legal accounting, which many legal professionals have to, from an accounting standpoint, especially with trust money involved, using a legal accounting software and practice management software in combination, or you have tools such as uLaw that do both, you're able to provide other accounting-related documents with a very consistent experience as well. So from a customer experience, it's a very personalized and a consistent experience. So if you really look at it, they write your name on a latte. So the latte is a latte. But then the template for a small claims matter can remain to be the same, which starts with, I hereby will be working with, and the template would have client name, so that whatever new client that you intake, his or her name or the company's name can automatically go into the template in the place, and the placeholders or the name should suggest, right? Instead of you having to type a retainer letter from scratch every time. Believe it or not, we do come across individuals who do that. If you're just dealing with one or two clients a month, depending on your busy schedule or based on the schedule that you have, you may be able to afford to write it from scratch. But if you're looking to expedite the growth of your business and be able to manage multiple files at the same time, then bringing a bit of business automation is going to definitely ensure a higher level of customer experience and a consistent customer experience, and a very personalized customer experience. Okay. When it comes to user experience, we spoke about that, this being the X factor, the differentiator. And as we say it here, user experience in many ways can be a game changer. Office productivity, it can be high when you have a very high user experience. That savings of productivity and the level of experience that you provide your end user or customer, can be transferred to the customer as well. Okay, so if you save time, you maybe provide more time to resolving a matter, to researching about a matter, than writing documents. We spoke about how user experience is also an X factor, providing your customers with other avenues or touch points that they're used to in other aspects of life. Okay, so today you go to Amazon, you go to any website, you have the opportunity to pay for things online. You have the opportunity to pay for things through your mobile phone. So life around you is evolving as well and is exposing your customers, your potential customers, to opportunities of improving how they deal with services. Okay? So you as a legal firm, as a legal professional, should most certainly stay in touch or stay in tune with what's happening around your end customer's world and be able to provide that level of differentiating service levels or touch points that makes them feel that you're a modern law firm. Okay? An integrated payment plan or a methodology, rather, can certainly save you time and yourself too a lot of time and grief. Okay? If your customer, and this is a common story that we've heard, so let's say you send out an email, you print it and you send it out, they don't receive it for whatever reason, or maybe they received it and they didn't recognize it and they just tore it and they're going to need another invoice. Being able to just resend an invoice with a link to the payment where you can say, "Well, Mr. Customer, we appreciate that. Here's an email with an invoice. I would appreciate if you could use that to pay it at your own leisure on a Friday afternoon." The customer is going to love it. It's going to work on a Sunday morning and be able to just pay it right from their phone. And you getting notified of it can automatically allow you to send a thank you note on Sunday afternoon, capturing customer information during the client intake form. For whatever reason, if you do collect information such as, using the customer data that you already have and repurposing it in forms and other areas where you can reduce the amount of input time that you need from your customers, is also another great user experience that you can provide. Okay. A good example from a legal firm standpoint is that of a cover letter, any business letters, envelopes, and labels. Again, as much as we want to stay away from print, these are other print media components where the user experience can be really high. Okay? And the user experience, we believe, leaves a long-lasting footprint of your business in the mind of your customer, because it's, as I mentioned, an accumulation of your brand and customer experience. And these three components leaves a long-lasting impression of the brand and the company as a product experience as well. So what's a good analogy or drawing parallel, if you will, with Starbucks from a user experience? Fantastic. It is a latte. It's made out for an individual's name. But now you have the opportunity as the individual customer to either order it online and pick it up in the store. I'm sure you've all now got used to it. Now, the problem with the reality and the problem of that is once one store provides it, then the other stores need to catch up, because that's the convenience that's already been provided by one store. Okay? Yes, it hasn't caught up to that level of commoditization in the legal industry, but it's just a matter of time. And if you can be that front runner of providing that kind of differentiators in your industry, then you obviously would become a thought leader as well. So you have the options of how you can deal with this brand, right? Before you could only go to the store. So before, the only way I can pay a legal firm is through check. But today I could actually buy this coffee online. I have reward programs that allows me to buy it, not just with money, but just with the rewards that I have. Maybe you got a gift card. I can use a gift card to pay for it. But it's the same brand. It's the same coffee taste that you should expect. But how you approach and treat that coffee and that brand experience the touch points of dealing with that brand has improved and has expanded. And that's going to give you more opportunities from a legal firm standpoint too. So it's the same brand, it's the same small claims matter that you deal with, but now you provide opportunities where you go paperless, where you provide your clients with the opportunity to pay you online through credit card. They can even pay your retainers through credit cards. That may be a flexibility you want to provide. You can pay it over phone, pay it at your own leisure. So that's what you want to think about when it comes to user experience for your firm. And then finally, when it's about the product experience, and this is where we spoke about options. So today you do small claims, tomorrow you may be doing immigration, the day after you may be doing criminal, right? So there's a bit of a wide range of options of services that you can offer as a firm. So technically you can become that one-stop shop for legal needs, again, within the boundaries of what you can offer as a company. But assuming that a satisfied customer has gone through an amazing, very fulfilling experience across these three earlier touch points, and if he or she truly feels that the needs were met, right? So you talk about customer satisfaction, and you talk about customer delight. So if you're striving for customer delight, and if you have provided that, and gone over and above the service quality that you promised, then you're most certain to expect, at the least, that this individual remember your brand the next time that they have a legal requirement or a need, okay? But for you to provide that overarching experience and very consistent, very professional, it requires strong business process and automation tools. And we firmly believe that practice management, and no matter what tool that is, practice management and legal accounting softwares can certainly take a bit of that burden off your back and let you focus on other aspects. Obviously, you have to do a little bit of homework to understand what tools would best benefit you, that's best for your business, best for your firm. There are many options that you can Google, you can search for, you can talk to friends and colleagues about, but do your research, do the homework, and if you can, invest in a very good product that can help you expedite and deliver a very consistent experience, okay? So again, drawing parallel with what that means from a Starbucks experience, it's the same brand. The coffee, I mean, you have different options of coffee too these days, eh? Not just how the coffee is made. You could have coffee from Africa, you could have coffee from different parts of the world, depending on your taste, right? But let's leave that aside. So let's say that the same coffee, it's the Sumatra coffee that you always have, but now you can order it online, but now you have other choices too. So on a very hot July afternoon, you probably want to order for a chilled iced latte. When it's really cold in January, December, or even February, and I'm talking to friends from Canada here, you probably want to order for a hot latte. So now you have the opportunity. But if you think about a hot latte, because of the brand experience that you had having sipped that cold coffee in July, you have that bit of an affiliation towards Starbucks, right? In many ways. So think about it in a very similar term from a legal standpoint. So you started off with a certain line of business and you had a customer A, and that work was done. Mr. A was really happy for having gone through an amazing experience across all these different 4 aspects. 6 months down the line, Mr. A now has another problem. Believe it or not, many times he or she is going to reach out to you to ask if you'd provide that service. Whether you market it or not, you obviously have to be proactive enough that you market any new service that you bring to your firm. But let's say even if you have not done that, you should expect that the client, having had that amazing experience with your firm, would come back to you asking you for legal advice. So that's the variety of the other areas or products that you can offer, providing the same experience, same coffee, same brand, different touch points. You can pay them online, you can pay in store, but now you also have varieties of other products. Same analogy for a legal firm. Okay? So for a change, we wanted to take the subject, because we often talk about legal accounting, we talk about the accounting principles. We as a company do a lot of webinars, specifically talking about the compliance needs of a legal professional for provinces across Canada. But this was a very important topic that we felt needed to be conveyed to the audience, the legal audience that we work with. And it was a suggestion made a few months earlier by, an audience like yourself who said this would be a good topic to talk about. So just as a recap, we spoke about how brand, customer, user, and product experience become critical experience factors within a legal firm or a law firm. And if you can work towards ensuring a high percentage of those experiences, provided in a very consistent, automated way, then you've really set up yourself to be a brand that your customers would appreciate and refer and revisit for other legal requirements. Just as a quick checkpoint for those, if you want to go over how you do your office branding today, are you at that juncture where you can revisit how you create a new logo? Or if you're a brand new entrepreneur who's just graduated from university or college, think about your goals, think about your values and what you bring to the table, the areas of practice you want to focus on. Visit websites like Fiverr. That's a good example that I can think about, which really allows you to work with freelance logo artists that can help you with logos of your choice. Think about how you can brand it across your firm's needs, print, digital. Think about it from a marketing standpoint. Think about it from a training standpoint. Because if you provide a very professional experience, you want to be able to train individuals in the company to execute on that as well. If you're a solo practitioner, then it's your discipline. If you're a law firm that have other employees, training is very important to maintain the level of professionalism and automation, because they need to know what tools to use and how to use it to deliver that automation and consistency, right? So that's why training and personal management is very important. Legal accounting, because there are accounting needs and there are opportunities for you to provide documents and touch points and customer and user experiences across those requirements as well. Okay? Maybe it's not a great idea to brand a legal aid document. Obviously, it's not great, but you certainly can generate a statement of activity to be sent to your customer with a branded document, as a branded document. Okay? Reprint that invoice in a branded experience. Provide that client intake form. So any law society requirements, obviously it's not necessary that you go out of the way and out of the line to brand it, but any customer-facing products or documents, certainly utilize the need of legal accounting and practice management software to provide that level of automation and consistency. Okay. So I'm going to take another 5 to 6 minutes just to walk you through how you can accomplish this level within your legal firm by using some of the tools that you have, and we're going to just use uLaw as an example. But for those who don't know who we are a Canadian company that focuses on legal accounting and practice management for Canadian legal professionals. And as you explore options, do give us an opportunity, and we will do our best. We do offer a no obligation 30-day trial. Many, our competitors, others in the market, I'm sure, provide you with similar experiences. So do go through that experience, understand what works best for you, and make an informed decision. Okay. And talking about being Canadian, we're very proud to have been recently nominated by the Canadian Lawyer Magazine in-house Reader's Choice for their in-house Reader's Choice Awards for 2019. We were in a previous category selected for, nominated rather, for a legal accounting and practice management tool for 2018. We're awaiting the results of that awards nomination, but soon after that, we also got nominated for the 2019 in-house Reader's Choice. If you have the time, if you know us, and you've had that experience working with us, we would appreciate if you could use the link provided in the chat window to vote based on your experience. And we would certainly learn from your feedback. And we certainly thank you for the vote and for the feedback as well. So let me take the next 5 minutes. Kind of quickly walk you through the opportunities as we spoke about the different experiences. So here's a fictitious legal professional, Mr. Roger Moore, and a practice management product that he's using right now is that of uLaw. So every touch point, every point of the way. So let's start with your client intake and all the documents that are relevant to that particular process. Okay, we spoke about how you can send them a retainer letter, you can send them all those different documents. So we also spoke about print. So just as a quick example, by just loading or uploading your letterhead, logo, your brand that you've created into a legal accounting or a practice management software, and this should be the case in any other products as well, you should be able to generate maybe a very consistent experience of brand. So for example, even if I'm generating an envelope or an envelope, it gives me the opportunity to provide it with a brand experience. So there's my logo. I want to make sure that that logo is available in every envelope. Okay? I'm printing, and this could be various different types. So that's one example. For purposes of time, I'm just going to jump into the file management. So this is all part of that user experience, all part of that customer experience, the different touch points that they have. So if I go in my compliance panel, whether it's a client intake form or a retainer letter, I want to provide a flat rate. So let's say you've already templatized many of these different documents. So you know that if you are dealing with a flat rate situation for a particular matter, then that one particular template pretty much encompasses a majority of how a drafted retainer letter should look like. Some of the things that are obviously going to change is how much do you anticipate accepting as a retainer up front, if that's even a situation. And then being able to provide the click of a button, that very same consistent documentation. Okay, so again, incorporating your letterhead, the same logo that we used in the envelope. Okay, so that hasn't changed. But you can certainly add to that experience if you like by having a very consistent letterhead across these important documents. Okay. Authorization letters. So there are many opportunities for you to, again, revisit your brand and incorporate it in an automated way. Statement of activity is a great example of the work that you've done so far. Sometimes the customer asks you for that statement of activity. Sometimes they don't. So it really comes down to your situation. But then any customer-facing documentation, you can most certainly take advantage of the consistent brand experience. Okay? So we've looked at the different documents, obviously. Let's say you're doing an invoice. That's obviously another example of how you can provide that experience. So let's look at that user experience of providing them with options of how they can pay you. So let's say you've docketed 1 hour of work for this particular small claims matter. Another example of a user experience in certain areas of practice is you can generate a preview. And this is a practice we've started to see with a lot of our clients, is they provide a pre-bill or a preview upfront to their customer. So they send a copy such as this to make sure that their customer is happy with the pre-bill of what they should expect to pay. Because many times what happens is the legal firm would send an invoice, and often, as you probably know, that would be a bit of a back and forth between the customer and the legal firm. And the customer says, hey, I can't really pay you for that, right? For whatever reason. Despite having a retainer letter, maybe sometimes you have that argument. So providing a pre-bill really sets the context saying, hey, you should expect this invoice, but I'm just making sure you're aware that I'm going to be charging you $452, okay? And you can send that as an email, get an approval. And when you actually do generate an actual invoice, you can make it an easy part for you to send out an email to, let's say, the client. So let me just download that invoice. And this is truly the convenience of sending the invoice via email. Okay, going paperless, obviously, and getting notified when your client opens the email, clicks the link. Those are things that you can accomplish. The cool thing about it is, again, providing that user experience of a link that they could use. So let's assume that your end client receives, Jerry Springer receives this in an email, as we spoke about, and then opens this on his mobile phone, which has internet. He or she can actually just go ahead and pay for that service without even calling you or talking to you. Because the lesser the touch point, the better for you too, right? That's better profit. They can actually pay for it at their own leisure. And if they don't have money in their particular credit card, you don't have to deal with bounce checks. So this is the convenience that you provide for yourself as well. In which case, they may have to call you or accept a check or accept a different credit card right through the phone. Okay? So again, that's the user experience where you can provide other touch points or ways of dealing with your firm. And as a legal firm, again, we spoke about Starbucks and them offering various different choices of coffee. If I were to draw that a little bit of a parallel with legal firms, obviously you have to do a bit of research. You have to go out there and execute on certain areas of practice, but you really have to learn from your experience. So how do I do that? Is I want to understand, where am I doing well, right? So I want to understand for the entire year, what areas of practice is actually giving me the money. Should I be investing in a new line of business? Because especially if you're not doing well, let's say, you want the tools and the capabilities to self-introspect your business. So over this year, you've had 13% coming from small claims. Maybe that's not what you signed up for. You did not sign up for having to deal with so many different areas of practice. 17% comes from personal injury, which is great. 15% from expenses. If you want to be able to compare that fee book to last year, you can do so very easily if you want to just compare yourself from a perspective of how am I doing this year compared to last year. Okay? Now this is what you need to decide what's that next product that you want to provide as a service to your end audience. And how do you make that decision is through informed decisions, through the data that you have in your firm, obviously based on certain conversations that you can have with colleagues and others in the industry, but a self-introspection that tells you that last year you had 18% of your business coming from small claims. This year it's only been 13%. Maybe it's not a great line of business that gives you the kind of revenue that you expect. Maybe it's time to change gears and focus on something else. Now that you suddenly realize that 17% comes from personal injury, that's a brand new area of practice that's really helping you grow your revenue. But that's then a service that you start to think about and execute and offer. And for those who you provided an amazing experience across those three factors we spoke about, you can now promote this brand new personal injury service or product so that they're well aware of it and they would refer you to others, or they would come to you if they have such a need. Okay? But the fundamental is that you have the data to support that introspection to make those informed decisions. That's where software can really help, is crunching those numbers and providing you that perspective and the information that you need. That's all I wanted to showcase in terms of just a product. There's so much more to a legal accounting and practice management software, but just some highlights of components that you may want to consider as you look to provide a very consistent and a high level of these experiences across your legal firm. Okay, so I want to once again thank you for joining me and us at uLaw for this webinar today. The chat window is open for any questions that you may have, but if time is of essence and if you have to run this Friday afternoon, we still request and thank you in advance for taking the time to vote for us as well. If you want to, you can provide a quick attendance. So the next time the Law Society does come to us for an audit, if you're actually a participant, we would be able to tell them yes or no. So you do have both these links to think about. And do email us any questions that you may have or other topics that you'd like us to cover, and we'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Today's webinar is accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. That was the quick question. How do you access that? Well, you do have to log into your individual Law Society portal. I'm assuming that's how you do it. And the subject line that you're searching for or you're entering, depending on your portal, is how do you ensure BX, CX, UX, and PX is high for your law office? A follow-up question, I did mention this, yes, the presentation would be recorded and will be available. And if you can kindly use the link provided to provide feedback on your attendance, we'll make sure we send you a link to our YouTube channel with a copy of this presentation. Fantastic. Now, if there are any more questions, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Your time is very precious, and we thank you for spending it with us this 1 hour. We hope this was your time well spent, and good afternoon once again, and thank you, and have yourself a fantastic weekend. Take care.